Yo, yo, yo. I feel like I got a little match rap for y'all, man. What a show tonight, and what a way that AEW sent this show home. Man, from start to finish, Rampage every single week, SPD. It feels like Rampage in hours just flies by, just genuinely just a joy to watch this show. I mean, I feel like this show personally was put together by TK for me. When we get to start this show off with Andrade and Pac in the ring, ready to go.
Unbelievable match.
No fluff, just pure, absolute adrenaline. That match was an absolute banger. It was so fun to just sit back on Twitter and watch just compliment after compliment after compliment after compliment, just scroll across my screen. Everybody loved that introductory match. I can't wait to talk to you about that one. I'm geeked about it. And then they go to Darby cutting a promo, and then they transition to the 6-women tag match, which, SPD, you and I have both talked a lot about the women's division, building that division up. You've pushed it. You have to be quite happy seeing the way that AEW utilized this 6-woman tag. You're starting to see faces develop in AEW's women's division. Believable.
It was definitely a great way. Yes, definitely a great way to showcase the growth of the division and the depth of the division. And we'll dive deep into that for sure. And then, to my surprise, well, I guess the hometown boy, Pac and Andrade, the way you got to look at it kind of from an insider, not just like a casual fan. You're coming off the heels of Dynamite main event. And then you keep the crowd hot. You keep them running, so you give Andrade and Pac as much time as they deserved, and it was fantastic. But we close out the show with 2 young stars that are clearly on the rise. We missed Max Caster
so much,
and Pillman, and a lot of people praise him. And we got a chance last weekend to chat with him a little bit, and we were trolling Max a little bit. But I think this is an excellent showcase of 2 young talents. But I know you're sitting back there salivating. You got your Pac shirt on.
Oh, baby, do I ever.
What did you think of the match? And does it deserve a 5-star rating for a TV match?
Well, for me, again, anybody who watches this show knows I believe when there's a lot of conversation about best in the world, and PWI just released their top 500, their top 500, which has always got a lot of eyes on it. Everybody's curious to see how things stack up. We don't get to see Pac a lot because, especially right now with the way the world is with COVID and the restrictions that are going on with travel. But when we do, SPD, I'm telling you, man, there are few people on the planet that can go like this man can. His matches just seem he seems so flawless. It looks so easy to him. The way in which he executes his moves, they're so precise.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I got you on board when it comes to selling. When it comes to making a guy look great across from him, there are few in the business that can really, just slump, just their whole body.
Wet noodle.
Yeah, dude.
He sold so good. It takes 2 to tango for sure. And yes, I loved Pac selling. His offense is almost as good as his selling. Or vice versa. So that's a true all around wrestler right there that can do both.
As you said, man, you said it. Like, it takes 2 to tango. When you have Pac, and again, one of his greatest strengths being selling, just making his opponent look great. Going against Andrade, this only being Andrade's second televised match in AEW.
It's very surprising.
Makes a lot of sense when you throw those 2 against each other, and boy, was this one worth the wait. These 2 could just – I feel like, I don't know about you, I could watch an Iron Man match between these guys. They just had chemistry. It was evident that
clearly
these 2 had chemistry. And that's one of the things I pointed out as fans of both these guys. Again, both on Team Crayfish. As fans of both these guys, I was saying it from the get, and I know that the feud kind of had some hits and misses in it because of, the Chavo aspect of canceling travel plans for Pac. But I've said it from the get. Andrade's kind of his tranquilo, chill, like confident swagger against just this angry, fired up, in just as intense as you. I mean, JR was describing him afterwards as, like a bear, like a rabid Wolverine. He is just
I like that.
angry, like he's a honey badger. This is an angry son of a bitch going against a confident luchador who it will go walk around and say he's the king of luchadors in the same company as Phoenix and Pentagon. That takes a lot of cojones,
I know.
my friend. Their styles, not only in ring, but personality. These two work together so well. And it wasn't a shock to me as fans of both of these guys to see this one really worked, man. This one absolutely hit on all cylinders.
It really did, man. This match was, the word that sticks out to me is unreal. I knew this would be a innovative, high flying match, but as like I've admitted before, I wasn't a big Andrade fan in WWE. I didn't really care that much about his matches. And then during his kind of peak part of WWE, I stepped away from WWE altogether. So, this being only his second match, I was very, very impressed with what he had to offer. And some of his moves, man, just the spinning flips off the top, that stomp off the top, and all that. And there was a lot of great chemistry, like you mentioned, catching each other, knowing those spots. And so, it's very interesting what happened after the match. This was, I would love to see, they're going to go back at it again. They have to, just the way it was finished and the way things kind of ended. Andrade not happy, Pac not happy. I'm very interested to see how this plays out with Chavo. And does he done with Chavo, or did he just punish him and now he's kind of in the doghouse? Chavo came here, not too long ago.
Yeah.
And if he is, booted from Andrade's side, that's pretty quick. I think he doesn't have many friends to partner up with for sure.
He's burned some bridges during this whole thing with Andrade. And I mean, there's all the rumors out there about Ric Flair and what his role will be. Obviously, when you think about the Nature Boy and you think Charlotte and Andrade, it goes hand in hand.
Sure. And we heard about it in AAA, down there. He was there, face to face with Kenny and in the corner of Andrade. So does AEW need or want a Ric Flair manager? Of course.
Goodness.
I think, who would not want to see the Nature Boy, the greatest of all time, in Andrade's corner? But I think the Chavo has been working so good, though, to me.
Well, I agree. I mean, I'm not in any rush to get Chavo out, especially with him kind of it was kind of cool tonight. I mean, Pac, as a Pac fanboy, Pac had Andrade. He had him, right? He had him. And so he was presented as an equal as Andrade in this match. And Chavo kind of had that like cheap, the always thinking manipulative manager vibe to him that really worked tonight. Sneaking in and getting that pinfall for Andrade. An interesting development post match where Andrade turned on Chavo, made it very clear. How does this? You don't mend the fence after that one. That was pretty brutal. And then throwing him to the wolves, allowing Pac and the Death Triangle to just absolutely dismantle him. That brutalizer post match by Pac, turned Chavo all shades of purple. Man, it was absolutely unbelievable.
He wasn't letting go anytime soon. That's for sure. So much of this match was, I just kept thinking about you and thinking of I wish we saw that live. But All Out was perfect. It was everything we wanted and then some. Every predicted all the winners, SPD did, minus the Battle Royale. But that's okay. That's all right. But, shifting into the women's match, so we saw all these competitors in the Battle Royal. And so other than Chris Statlander and DMD, on their own match.
Right.
But what I loved about this match was, yes, like I said earlier, the showcase of the growing division. But Riho, you almost forget that she was the first women champ. You almost forget about her in the division. Just the way she's been, off and on, hot and cold here and there. And especially after the booking of that, So I was happy to see her kind of get more of a showcase there for sure. What did you think? I know you're hot on that, and then it protected a lot of the women in the match. It protected DMD. It left us all happy, with Ruby with the pin. I'm intrigued with the whole Statlander and Rio kind of teaming up. I like that on the shoulders and then the drop there onto, and then attempted drop, and then Rebel kind of sacrificing herself over her partner.
Yeah.
So that would be an intriguing tag match right there. We've talked about tag team wrestling in the division to grow that. I don't see it as a tag team sticking, but it would be an intriguing tag match, DMD and Rebel versus Statlander and Rio, just to get more faces in the division and more faces on TV. But all in all, I like that, I'm all for featuring 6, a trios is great. This company, like we said, is based on tag team, but it's also growing with trios. And so, I enjoyed it, man. It was a good one.
It's a brilliant idea when you're talking about limited time, right? This roster is quickly blossoming to a point where you are just, it's a glut of riches that the AEW has, man. It's just absolutely incredible to see the talent that they've developed. And the women's division, with Ruby coming in, Thunder being full-time signed, there's a lot of talent in this division that I think AEW is smart to start to integrate some of these tag matches in, integrate some of these 6 women tag matches in, use that time the best of your ability. That there are certain talents that can anchor those segments, that can really serve as your framework. DMD is a great example here in this one. And because of that, we're seeing Jamie Hayter's growth.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing Rebel's personality continue to shine more and more every single time we see her.
She's full of it.
And across the ring, Statlander, I felt like it all out. That match against Britt was fantastic. And I think that Statlander is continuing to get better every single week. I'm going to tell you, I have to pump the brakes, though, and it's weird for me to say this as the DMD fanboy. I'm always trying to rush us to talk about the DMD. You just brush right over Darby Allin. Very convenient of you as the
I know.
As the conductor of the Darby Express, I just want to say that whole segment really interesting to me. I thought that worked out really, really well, and seeing Darby and Sting go toe to toe with Tully and Sean Spears, I like where that's going. I like that a lot. That said, I'll jump on board, SPD. I just wanted to get that little Darby love in because
before we switch, I'll comment on the Darby. I liked how Darby called him the generic piece of what.
Gotcha.
So the fact that Darby was kind of spitting fire and they weren't stepping down, I really enjoyed that. And then Sting was dropping bombs too. And then the commentator team did a great job, living up to you for Tully. You can't turn your back on Tully, he's sneaky and all this stuff. So I think they did a great job. That's one thing, live events are outstanding and so fun, but the commentator team on AEW does such a great job. And, unfortunately Excalibur was gone this week, but they definitely held their weight. I love Taz. I've always been a supporter of Taz on commentary. I think he's outstanding. As well, but if you got more to talk about Darby and your Darby whistle, if your whistle's there, you can honk it.
No, I just had to pinch myself because this show literally went Pac and Andrade, Darby, and then DMD, and I'm just like, God, my gosh, TK, you're spoiling me right now.
I know.
That said, honestly, as the Brit fanboy here, I'm on her team, but I gotta say, man, Jamie Hayter. Every time I watch this woman wrestle, she has that it factor, man. We just got done gushing about Powerhouse Hobbs on Dynamite. Jamie Hayter kind of has some of those Powerhouse Hobbs vibes to her presentation.
Her pacing,
sure. Very purposeful in the ring. You could tell strong. I love that she kind of leans, and she's done this even before she took that hiatus and before she went international. The first time we got to see Jamie Hayter in AEW, she always kind of leaned into that bully mentality. She kind of wrestles a match like a bully in the ring. She has no problem using her physicality and her intensity. It doesn't always have to look pretty, man. She literally will ragdoll you. And that's what I love about what I'm seeing out of Jamie Hayter. I want Jamie to kind of take the DMD approach. I want Jamie to start racking up some W's on Dark and Elevation.
I agree.
Build that record up. Jamie Hayter needs to be something that's recognized as a real challenge to get over the hump. You know what I mean? Build that record up.
I completely agree. I mean, I was very impressed with her re-debut and her new gimmick and her strength in the ring. And I'm Team Hayter as well. And I think the addition to the DMD squad is excellent. And it's only gonna grow from here. And where do you see, I don't think we're gonna. When do you see Ruby and DMD going toe to toe? Do you think it's in New York? New York is so packed, or do you think they're gonna stretch it out like we always say? So
that's a great
what are you
question.
thinking?
That's a great
How
question.
long do you build it? How long do you build this? AEW has been known to not slow build. A lot of times when they have those casino battle royals, it's almost the next week. When Jungle Boy won, it was the very next week that he got, the next Dynamite, he got his chance versus Kenny Omega. So how long do you see this build?
Well, that's an interesting question, SPD. AEW does a nice job of balancing this, stretching it out and striking when the iron's hot. And this is a unique scenario where I feel like fresh off the heels of her debut, really hot, big response for her in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Having her take down a personal favorite of ours. I don't think that I'm speaking out of line when I say that Thunder Rosa, one of the absolute favorites of the Dukes of Dynamite, having Ruby take her out at that, I feel like you need to lean into that one.
Right.
New York is going to be interesting because that does feel like one of those Dynamite episodes that is going to be presented as a super show, right? Like we've seen a lot of.
I wish they could make that 3 hours. That would be pretty cool.
That's a good question. Honestly, it's one of the things I saw on social media that I wanted to talk to you guys about. I wanted to hear Bonza's take on this too. But, if AEW were to add a 4th hour of primetime television, would you rather have them stretch out Rampage or add a 3rd hour to Dynamite? I heard a lot of back and forth on that. It would be interesting. I feel like Rampage right now is so tight.
Yeah,
and so
agree.
So smooth and so just it flies by.
It's different too.
It feels like a different vibe than Dynamite, right? I don't know if I would want to add another hour onto Rampage. I would
see. The thing is, sorry to cut you off, but I think stretching. If you dive into the fluff that WWE gets on that long show.
I get it.
So even if they did a 90-minute Rampage. If they start there, I think that would make a lot of people happy. And then it's still, but I think if you're adding anything, it has to be on the Rampage side, whether it be an hour or whether it be 90 minutes. But that being said, I think once they get the kinks worked out and the capability, then you have to make Rampage always its separate live show so you can sell tickets. That way, if you do make it a 90-minute or a 2-hour show, you're going to be able to sell those tickets.
I like it.
We've only experienced, we were at the 2nd ever live Rampage. They've only, this is the 4th week of Rampage, and, half of them have been taped, haven't been live. And so just looking at the events going forward, most of them are going to be taped after Dynamite. So if AEW wants that ticket sale revenue, I think you have to add that 2nd hour at Rampage, and I think it would work. Do you dip into, you start at 9:00? I mean, that's a prime hour on Fridays. Also, then you're going head to head with another competitor, which they clearly are showing that they can do. So what do you think, man? I mean, I know 3 hours is tough to go through.
I agree. I feel like 3 hours feels like you're giving a pay-per-view every week then. I mean, because a pay-per-view is just around 3 to 4 hours, right? So, I mean, I feel like if you're doing that, you're literally setting yourself up where and again, Dynamite, it always feels like, man, Dynamite, like we just talked about, the main event felt like it got rushed this week, right? It feels like they have plenty of content and plenty of talent to fill that kind of that much extra, have an extra hour, right? But I agree with you. I feel like if they're going to do another hour, I feel like it should, or stretching out Rampage a little bit more does make sense. I think that the demand is there. I know that it's weird to say this, but because there's so much wrestling out there, but these shows are hitting on a level, guy. I know, SPD, I'm not alone. Dynamite and Rampage, these shows just fly by. They keep you glued. They keep you glued to the screen. There's so much talent. There's so many stories that are going on. And then when you integrate social media into it too, I mean, this week's main event, let's get into the main event. This week's main event, there was a lot of stuff on social media. MJF clearly had a lot. His eyes were on this one. He was putting a lot of pressure on his boy toy, Platinum Max, to come out big and win this one.
He wants him on top, if you know what I mean. Look up Max's tweets, you'll find out.
Social media was on fire for this one all week. It's awesome to say. Brian Pillman had this kind of moment his birthday week. He gets the main event Rampage. He gets to win a big match.
Well deserved.
And then to have Moxley come out, the other Cincinnati boy, to come out and make the save. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's rocket science. They know how to give the fans what they want. Give the people what they want. And in honor of Excalibur, who wasn't there with us this week, I mean, let's be honest. Why not send the fans home happy? Moxley, Moxley and Pillman are beaming ear to ear right after tonight, right? I mean, what a absolutely awesome moment to have them be able to celebrate in front of their hometown. And for Pillman, well-deserved, right? I mean, going against Platinum Max, the best wrestler alive, if you don't believe me, just go ask him. This one, as you said, SPD, a showcase of some real exciting, like, talented, creative kids, young talent on this AEW roster. A real great showcase for some homegrown talent that we think can take AEW to another level as this company continues to go forward. Are you with me on this one?
Absolutely, 100%. Both these guys deserve the main event. Both these guys delivered, and it's true. Everybody loves the Acclaim, baby. Max and Bowens delivered on nonstop, and I like seeing more focus on Bowens. Even Bowens. Max clearly is the guy with the mic. He's the mic drop, man. He's spitting the game, spitting the raps. But
his
Bowens starting
in those raps. Yes. Oh my God, that rap tonight was. And what I'm going to let you go because you're right. Bowens doesn't get enough love. He doesn't, and he killed it tonight.
He did fantastic, both in the promo, both the ringside stooge, all that stuff. Typical heel, man. These guys are clearly on the rise as a dirty heel team, but they're going to get over these next weeks with New Jersey and New York. As soon as that siren hits and Max gets on the mic, man, the pop is going to be huge. I mean, we saw it and we heard it. We were cheering for him. Absolutely. That pop in Chicago when we saw him on Dark ripping up that script, it was big. And we were cheering for them. We weren't booing them. They were fantastic. And that line by Bowens, "You're on thin ice already, Max." And so them leaning into it, as we say here at Dynamite Download, they're leaning into it. But overall, I mean, the gimmick and the shenanigans on the side by Bowens was A+. I think they were working so good together. And the Acclaimed, man, they're due for a nice run, and they're going to be featured more. And I think, Acclaimed, and as we've seen, Varsity Blondes feud is a great feud that we're going to enjoy. And speaking of Varsity Blondes, when we were at Fan Fest, a couple little kids asked if I was in the Varsity Blondes. I told them I'm applying for the third member. Still haven't heard back. So if you know anyone,
maybe
tell
we
them
can
I'm ready.
Get Brian Pillman on the show sometime, and we can pitch it to him because
right.
Pillman certainly right now. If you're AEW leadership, you got to look at this young kid and see like how he has grown since we started this company. Again, for him to be able to hold his own with MJF and Platinum Max in the same week in promo battles, I'm telling you, man, it's absolutely props to him.
Two of the top two heels
in all of pro wrestling when it comes to just pure fire on the mic. And Pillman held his own. And quite honestly, did it in a way that, sometimes as a babyface, you're put in a hard spot, right? Max can say all the lines. MJF, he'll say whatever it takes to get
rough.
people riled up. But as heels, you have that creativity and you have that freedom to kind of make those digs and get that cheap heat, as MJF likes to talk about.
Right.
It's hard sometimes to cut a good babyface promo, man. And,
it is.
And Pillman was fired up. He brings the energy, and he honestly, he's able to counter those punches from the heels with intelligence. The kid is thinking. He's on his feet. He's thinking on his feet. Tonight was a great example. I think I'll be honest with you. It's awesome to hear you throwing praise at the Acclaim, because at first their debut, we all were like, huh. But I quickly realized these guys are onto something, man. Like Platinum Max's creativity. I hope that people really can respect the talent. We got to go watch at FanFest at All Out Weekend. We got to see Platinum Max rapping live in the beer gardens, and he had people going. This dude, all of his raps are just creative, intelligent. They always find a way to hit. The Cincinnati lines with the Cincinnati chili. Everybody had to laugh at that one, looking like a bowl full of what. Just good stuff, man. And then when we transitioned into the ring, the bar was set really high at the beginning of the night when you got to see the Bastard going against Andrade. These two kids, they went all out, man. They pushed each other. Pillman did a lot of moves as far as going through the ropes, over the top ropes, off the top ropes. I mean, Pillman, you could tell his heart rate was going, man. He had the energy, and Max is a perfect guy to go against in that regard.
Sure.
His offense tends to be a little bit more, he'll kind of grind you down. He kind of he's a very good foundation for those high energy guys. Max is a smart wrestler, a lot like MJF, where he's gonna kind of wear you down, more of a brawler, and it works really well with Pillman. I'm excited to see if you're right. We get to see the MJF kind of utilizing the Acclaimed to go after Pillman, because after the match with Bowens, that beatdown that they were putting on Pillman, very good stuff all around.
Yeah, and I had one of Max Caster's rap stuck in my head all day too. So I mean, it's definitely sticking almost a week after we saw it. But I'm loving what they're doing. I think this was overall the card. It was perfectly built, and it was very fast. I am very, like I said earlier, very eager to get a little bit more time. But I do like how fast it is. Just for AEW's sake and growth, it would be nice to have 90 minutes or 2 hours so you can and do that all live. And they are starting to, if you haven't seen, film at Orlando Studios starting tomorrow. So that's an old TNA trick, and it's going to be interesting how it goes. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do. It seems like that's going to be their new home for filming Dark, and so we won't get as many. If you go to a live event, maybe not as many dark matches, which is, is what it is. We'll see how it is.
Yeah.
But, on Wednesday's show, I posed two questions. The first one is, where's Hangman and how do you book his debut or his return? What do you think about Hangman? He was on such a huge ride right now.
Yeah.
And ever since he's been off, essentially got V-triggered off TV by the Young Bucks. We saw CM Punk, Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, all these people infused in the main event scene when we were setting up Hangman to be, essentially the flag bearer, taking it from Kenny and moving on. And we saw it as soon as All Out potentially doing that. Now, how long do you keep him off TV? And then do you think he inserts right back into the main event picture? Like, what do you see with Hangman? Is he going to take steps back, or is he going to go right away? And then we're going to still continue to see his rise and ultimately dethrone Kenny?
That's a great question.
What do you guys think in the chat? How are you booking Hangman's return?
Yeah. And right now, SPD, I feel like when I look at the way the show is going, I don't know if you can thrust him right back into that feud with Kenny. I think that this stuff going on with Daniel Bryan, you get to see Jungle Boy, Jurassic Express involved, and Christian going against and Kaz, the Elite Hunter.
I like it.
Going against the Elite. I mean, that is a full-blown story to it. And I don't know about you, but I want to see Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson.
It's going to be tough to switch that.
I know. I don't want to pull a JR. Let me just pause. All right. Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega. I think that that's the type of match that I want to see. I want to see that feud. I'm not going to rush through that program, that dream program, just to get when Hangman comes back. I'm sorry. It's not, that's not where I'm at. So if Hangman were to come back sooner than later, I'm seeing what's happening in the Dark Order. Clearly, I thought Anna Jay's return would kind of be what kind of rallied them back. She's clearly desperate at this point. It's gotten too big for her to handle. Hangman coming back, being the person who reunites the Dark Order, I would be okay with that. Otherwise, I'm waiting until the Daniel Bryan saga plays out, and then Hangman comes back and challenges Kenny. But I'm not rushing through this main event right now. I love what we're seeing.
I agree.
Unless potentially, Adam Cole were to cost Daniel Bryan.
Bryan Danielson.
Unless Adam Cole were to cost Bryan Danielson the opportunity against Kenny, if Kenny and Bryan Danielson get in a match and somehow the Elite's antics, which we've seen over and over and over again, somehow they get involved and you do a side gig with Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson, I'd be great with that too. Their in-ring styles would be fantastic together. Because ultimately we all do believe that the person who to dethrone Kenny, even with this influx of talent, it should be Hangman Adam Page. I believe in that long-term story.
I think it'd be best for business right now to keep that homegrown AEW pushing. If you want to keep doing that, uplifting, like Bryan Danielson said, thank the people who are here from day one. Thank the OGs, the Chris Jerichos, the Jungle Boys, and the Britt Bakers and all that have been there since day one. So, I mean, if you're looking at it on paper, you have essentially, not counting Colt Spray Cutler, 6 in-ring competitors on Team Elite, and then Bryan Danielson's squad has only got 5. And so if you do continue this feud, and essentially they recruit that 6th member.
Look at you doing your math.
But I like that how you're saying if Adam Cole were to cost Bryan Danielson, and then it's a quick shift of Kenny Omega after Kenny Omega beats him, quick shift to that side feud, and then Kenny can do his whole spiel. There's no one. Again, they beat me, and then those bells and that horse starts kicking. Man, the roof would blow off the place for sure, and then you can build to Full Gear, which Full Gear is 2 months away, and that's a lot of programming in a short amount of time.
Hangman versus Kenny at Full Gear feels right. It just feels right. And the chat's buzzing about it. I think it makes a lot of sense. You Hangman, the way you said it to begin with, SPD, he was basically V-triggered off of television. When Hangman comes back, it's going to be with a vengeance. And he's going to want his sight is going to be set on Kenny. There's going to be no one. He's going to want to take down the Elite. So, maybe Kenny and like this Kenny versus Daniel Bryan match gets spoiled, which then allows us down the road to want to see that even more. I'm all for it. Great question by you though. I think it's certainly interesting. And for Tony, there's a lot of ways you can go with it.
And I even think you could still continue that if that's the Elite's motto, screwing and cheating and all that. So even when Kenny and Bryan Danielson go toe-to-toe and they cheat to win, and then ultimately, while that feud is still going on, Hangman's in the mix and Hangman gets his title shot, wins the title,
yes.
Kenny loses, and then Kenny shifts into a programming with Bryan Danielson. And so it's a win-win where Hangman gets the gold and we get another great match with Kenny and Bryan Danielson. And so I think that would be outstanding for all of us for sure.
I like that idea.
And that's like what I talked about. Another question was like, when and where and what do you see Bryan Danielson's first match? Is it versus Kenny Omega, the top guy? I mean, obviously that would be, a huge thing. Or do you see him booked in kind of a tag trios match? Or do you think he's going to get a singles? I mean, we're seeing Adam Cole go toe to toe with Frankie Kazarian this Dynamite for his first debut match. Obviously Bryan Danielson's been focused on Kenny ever since he's debuted at All Out. There hasn't really been any kind of sidebar stuff. In 2 weeks, we're at the big Grand Slam show in front of the biggest crowd. I feel like that is the time to capitalize. I mean, we all, the rumors were saying that that's when he was going to debut. But thankfully he didn't, because we got to see it live, and that was quite the pop for sure. And that card is already starting to shape up. I mean, Malachi Black with Cody's return, which to me, I think is a little premature. I want us to, milk that out a little bit, Cody being gone, so we can really appreciate him more and get a bigger pop, because Malachi Black is still, the fans are cheering him. They're not booing him. And so that's a tough thing, but I think it's going to be an outstanding match for sure. But what do you see him being booked for? Bryan Danielson's first match.
Yeah, man. I mean, you could go either way with that, right? I think that like there's some draw of seeing, Danielson just dismantle the Elite one by one. But the way that these groups are set up, and with the amount of love and hype and just gravitas around the potential of Kenny versus Bryan Danielson, I think that is you go all in for that. You hold off and you wait for his in-ring debut to be one-on-one against Kenny. I think that's, to me, where you wait. You hold off on it, and I think that then, if it gets spoiled, it makes people want that much more, because you get a taste. You get a taste.
A little taste. You want a taste?
You want a taste? I always love how much you love that. You get a taste of what that match could be if it wasn't for the antics of the Elite. And think about the countless Kenny Omega World Championship defenses where we've had that same feeling. Jungle Boy. The match against JB, where you get robbed of what it could be if it wasn't this BS in the background. There's a lot.
That triple threat,
Orange Cassidy, the triple threat against OC and Pac. That to me is sort of the underlying current of this Kenny Omega championship run, and I think it would be very fitting if it culminates in us robbing against. And I think you're right, dude. Does Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson need to be a match where there's a world title on the line? I don't think that's the case. I think that you could have the
pure wrestling.
It could be for the claim of being the best wrestler in the world. I think that especially with Kenny being ranked as the number one wrestler on the planet by PWI, that could be a title that he's defending in its own way, right? Like, he can defend the title of the top-ranked wrestler on the planet against a guy like Bryan Danielson, who, at his very core, that is who he is. He prides himself on being a pro wrestler. We heard that on his promo when he first debuted at All Out. That could be something, and you don't necessarily need the title. And then that way, you don't have to worry about, does Bryan Danielson become the AEW World Champion? You just go all in on that feud and let those guys go at each other and have a series of matches that would blow our minds.
Yeah, I agree. I think that helps, spread the wealth. Other than that, and then Hangman taking gold, and he can still feud with the Elite a little bit longer, and then kind of just shift focus. I think that would send the crowd home extremely happy. And we're all thinking Full Gear which is in 2 months away. And I mean, a lot happens in 2 months in the AEW landscape. And so I know we've brought this up before, but now that we've seen All Out, what are some, I asked the chat this, what are some matches that you could kind of want to see moving forward in Full Gear? We are more often than not wrong with our booking that far in advance, because we talked about this for All Out. We're like, what matches would you want to see? And I put it in my notepad, and I was like looking back, and I'm like, man, there wasn't much that was there. I think for me, it's got obviously Hangman Omega, but I think it would be pretty cool to.
If you could book one other match based off of what you see going on, what would it be?
Oh man, it has to either include the Lucha Brothers or Bryan Danielson. Lucha Brothers, just for pure entertainment, and I think Styles. I think it would be, it had to be Lucha Brothers versus Top Flight Return, or Lucha Brothers or Private Party.
All right, I like it.
And I think Lucha Brothers feuding with HFO and Private Party was kind of like intriguing, because then you got Butcher and Blade returning. I mean, it's a kind of a good thing, because then you could pit them against TH2, Butcher, Blade, PMP. Like, those are 3 heel teams that they can kind of like spread it out for that, and then Hardy can be paired up with some of those too. So I think that would be pretty intriguing for that. Obviously,
I like that idea. I mean, like, HFO, I know, like, I think we're all agreeing, like, all right, it's starting to get time to where they should like break away, like the Orange Cassidy versus Matt Hardy. Like, I love the hair match. I love that Matt Hardy's wants to shave Orange Cassidy bald. I think that's hilarious. But I think that's I didn't even think about that, SPD. I think that's a really interesting idea, because, like you said, HFO is basically now comprised of 3 different tag teams, and each one of those teams very, very different. You get you kind of get that submission vibe off of Angelico with kind of that high flyer Jack Evans in the background.
Yep.
And then Private Party being that young team that I think could really push the pace with the Lucha Bros.
Yeah, and they're doing some great stuff right
Butcher and Blade with Big Butch returning. You get to see 2 powerhouses going against the new champs, Lucha Brothers. I like that idea a lot. Not something I would have picked right away, but I like that. I think that's very interesting. And what that does is it gives us new challengers, because we've seen a lot of these I think it's time that Private Party gets a little shine, gets a championship opportunity. But and it's been long overdue. Butcher and Blade get that same opportunity too. We've always loved their work from the get-go. And again, talking about paying homage to the OGs, those are some OGs of AEW. I like that booking by you. We're getting a lot of great stuff coming out in the chat right now.
What is a match you'd want to see?
Pac versus Andrade again, getting called out by Scoot. I love that idea. A lot of our fans out there talking about the women's division, and I think that Ruby versus Britt is I think it's going to happen before Full Gear.
Yeah, that'd be too long to build, in my opinion.
I think that this feud is red hot right now. I mean, Ruby's definitely got the crowd behind her, and they're
what shade of red?
Scarlet.
It's not ruby red.
Well, that's man. You put that one up there as a softball for me, and I just struck out. Man, that was awful. Wow. No, but for me, I am going to say it again and again and again and again, and hopefully the fans don't get bored with me saying it, because I think that this year started off with a bang, and it needs to get wrapped up the same way. Hottest feud of 2021. All the other great stuff that's happened in AEW and beyond. Okay. All the great new talent that have debuted, all the great dream matchups that we've had. Nothing matches up to the DMD versus Thunder Rosa. Right. I want to see that match. I want to see it again before the calendar year is over. I think put a bow on 2021, have it come Full Gear, full circle. I want to see that match. I want Thunder to get a title shot against the DMD. I know that those two women would deliver. And you know that fresh off the heels of coming up just short in that battle royal, you know that trademark intensity, that trademark fire of Thunder Rosa is burning bright right now. She's got to be chomping at the bit to get an opportunity at Britt. I would be all about that. Lots of other great opportunities out there. You know me. I will say another dark horse candidate based off of my interaction with him at the hotel. As I drunkenly stumbled past him, we chatted a little bit. Wardlow, he planted some seeds with me at All Out, kind of mentioning, hey, if this happens, I want to come on the show. We saw it at Dynamite. MJF and Wardlow, those two guys.
That would be good build for Full Gear.
Those two guys got some things happening right now. And after
that's been going on for a while.
And they have for a long time with MJF's condescending shithead attitude. I would be all about seeing that match. Finally, the breakout. I called it. Wardlow was my pick as the breakout star of 2021. And I feel like, man, he's killing it. But he hasn't had that chance yet to break through yet. And if he could finish 2021 going against Maxwell Jacob Friedman, turning on him, I think that Wardlow, the fans are all about the Ward Dog. I would love to see MJF versus Wardlow at Full Gear. I think that the seeds are planted right now, SPD. If they start watering those seeds, they just start watering them, maybe giving them a little sunshine. I think that could be a feud that heading into 2022, you could then establish Wardlow as a guy you can count on, and he emerges as another top guy in this company. And JR will have a joy commentating any match that he's in. That's for sure.
I think I love it, man. I'm all for it, man, because we've said it time and time again, every chance we get to talk about it. That guy's a star, and he just needs the push. He just needs the time, he needs the platform.
That's it.
And he's comfortable in the ring. The fans have always been behind him and been impressed by his strength. And so it was a lot of fun. Real quick about MJF, when we interacted with him at the hotel the last night after All Out.
You gonna tell the story?
Yeah, he walked in. Well, he walked in with his, hurting his back. He's like, my back's killing me. And he goes, don't effing look at me. And but he did roll his window down and say an obscene comment about Dynamite Download. But it was Crayfish was bringing him margaritas all night, and we kept slipping him Dynamite Download stickers with every single margarita, and it was hilarious. One he ripped up, he put on his shoe. Another one he put on Chuck Taylor.
Chuck Taylor's shoulder. Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun.
MJF was bleeding.
We know he's watching right now.
MJF was bleeding me dry with those margaritas.
Keep him coming, Cue Ball.
Keep him coming, fat boy. Come on, Cue Ball. What's taking so long? He was riding me like a pony at the hotel. And it was
extra
hilarious.
Salt for the salt of the earth.
What a story! And in typical heel fashion, I had to get a couple digs in. I mentioned, hey, MJF, it's okay, buddy. I can understand you need a little tequila to drink off the pain of losing. And
a lot of people went, oh.
And then my last one, I told him, MJF, that'll be $83.95. I lost a lot of money in MJF coin, and that one you could tell it stung. That stung a little bit, but he knew I got him a little bit there.
That's true.
MJF is a pure joy to interact with. He's always living the character. I don't know where reality and story end with him, and that's what I love about MJF.
That's true.
This is a kid you instantly can plug him into any program and it'll work. You hear in the chat room, you're seeing people mentioning Darby versus MJF. I would be all for that. Choo choo. Hey Zeus, give me a little choo choo over there, buddy. Then you're also seeing Scoot Punk versus MJF. Imagine the promo
that's
battles.
The ultimate payoff, in my opinion.
Oh my God. Imagine the promos. If you finally give CM Punk a guy who can go toe-to-toe and pull no punches in a promo battle, that would be a blast. The underlying theme, I'm telling you, the underlying theme here, MJF knows what he's doing. And as a heel myself, I can give the man his just due. Wardlow and MJF, that would be such a great way to catapult Wardlow into that babyface run that I think that he's capable of.
Yeah, I think it's perfect, and I would love to see that slow play till over the next couple months for sure. Another match that I was kind of intriguing talking about, the buzz of the women's division would be a tag match with Thunder, and which we had a little input from Mr. Rosa himself. Thunder and Serena versus Jamie and Britt.
Love that.
I think if she's not getting a title match at the pay-per-view, that tag team would be really, really intriguing.
Book it. That guy, Brian Cervantes, Brian Rosa, that is a smart man. He knows women's wrestling in particular. And, putting that one on the board, you talk about putting the best pure wrestling talent that this company has from the women's division. It's hard to name names that are any better than Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb. You're putting those two on the same side against Jamie Hayter, who I know Hayter's getting a cult following out there, man. And then obviously the DMD. It doesn't get better than that. I think that man is a genius, mastermind. Love the idea.
Hire him on the staff for sure, man. That is some good stuff. Real quick, as we're starting to wind down, I know it's getting late on our end. Where do you want to see? We have to talk about him because we're his guys. Where do you want to see the factory transition to next?
QT Marshall.
The cutest dog on the block, Buttercup.
Oh gosh, if you're not following QT, you're missing out on hilarious tweets and
tweets.
Such cute dog pictures. My gosh, is Buttercup adorable. Thank you for bringing up my favorite.
You rocked that bowling shirt all pay-per-view, loud and proud, through the crowd, and you got roasted by Max Caster because you're wearing that bowling shirt. I did not see one other bowling shirt that whole weekend. Yeah, so
Max
props to that.
Max was saying that it looks like I bowl 100. He was going at me at the rap.
That's really not that bad if you don't bowl.
That's what I was saying, man. I was like, come on, Max. If you're going to go total, if Max Caster is going to step to QT Marshall in honor of Omar from The Wire, rest in peace, my man. If you coming for the king, you best not miss. You can't go after QT Marshall making weak ass jokes like that, Max. QT would rip you apart. That dude is savage. That said, QT and the factory don't feel complete until Anthony Ogogo is healthy and ready to come back, man. That group and that I don't think I'm saying anything that QT wouldn't agree with. When we interviewed him and when we talked to him, we are QT's guys, and I own that like a badge of honor. That is QT is the man. By the way, QT, loved your little you had a little segment in the roads the road to that we got to see with the upcoming reality show of Brandy.
Rose to the top.
Rose to the top. QT getting a little love in there. We got to see Preston Vance in there. Good stuff all around. But if you're going to ask me, I think the factory, they need a go-go. He's kind of that. He's kind of got that it factor. Camarado is clearly Mr. Freak Beast. He's the muscle of the group, right? And he's kind of got that intimidator factor. Aaron Solo, I love what a stooge. We love a good stooge here at Dynamite Download. Aaron's quickly becoming a great little stooge for QT and the factory. I love that. And you know that QT's my guy.
Who can work too.
But Ogogo, that guy is, to me, he's the breakout star of that group. So when he's ready, that's when you go forward. I think that Ogogo needs to come back before I'm ready to talk about anything about where to go with the factory.
See, I would love, what I think it would be, pretty entertaining to me if the factory went toe to toe with the wingmen and you push the wingmen to turn babyface, because they can get over as babyfaces if they keep going doing their gimmick and stuff the makeovers and stuff like that. And so and then you can put Cesar and Camarado toe to toe. Like that would be a fun Haas versus Haas match.
You're right.
Other than that, and then QT can pick up some wins against the wingmen, and things like that. So
and imagine QT's like the way that he would react to those guys. Like imagine QT's disgust for their antics.
For sure.
Right? He would that would be good. That's good booking. I like that. And the wingmen feel like they're over. It feels like the wingmen are kind of baby faces, right?
I think they can easily go over.
Easily transition that way.
And I think they would work both ways, heel or babyface, especially babyface trying to be the pretty guys and all that and all that. So I'm all for that. So hopefully we get to see.
I like that idea.
Thank you. Hopefully we get to see.
Maybe we pitch that to QT.
Maybe. Maybe. But all right, man. As we're wrapping things up for the night,
the bingo card. Everybody wants to know who won the all-out predictions. Crayfish. I did some analytics. I went in and I did all the research. SPD, I know that you were really proud of the fact that you only got one wrong, but one wrong was the top. That was the best. No one got the card 100% right. The top pick, including the tiebreaker, this is what the tiebreaker played a role. Nyla Rose had the most eliminations in the Women's Battle Royal. And as such, I saw It's Me, Deb, is the winner of the bingo
Full Tilt
card
Deb.
for all. Full Tilt Deb, Mind Runner's sidekick. She came out on top because she got the tiebreaker correct. So SPD, you represented the Dukes of Dynamite well.
Thank you.
If we were counting on my predictions, we would have been beat by pretty much everybody in the Dynamite download community. But thank God you went at but Full Tilt Deb, she pulled it out. Credit to her. We will make sure that we give her and Mind Runner some goodies. Definitely appreciate all the love that those two have given this show along the way. Some of the OGs of the DD community. And these bingo cards seem to be a real hit. So
yeah, we're gonna keep them coming.
Keep them going. I like it a lot, SPD. Way to go with that idea. And we'll make sure we're going to reach out. I think I still have Mind Runner's address. We'll double check with them just to make sure they get a little prize pack. But those of you out there who feel like you missed out on potentially getting the goodie bag of Dynamite download gear, make sure you check out our store. You could get all that information off of our Twitter or go to AEWDynamiteDownload.com and you'll find all that great information right there. Make sure you get that heel or babyface shirt. Real hot over All Out weekend. A lot of compliments on those.
It was, and I think I have to check the analytics, but I think Team Babyface shirts got a little bit lead on Team Heel shirt on that. But
you got a red shirt. I mean, how many black shirts do people need?
Well, that was
set
funny.
Me up for failure. You did that. I know you. I know you.
Mark Henry brought it up, and someone else brought it up, or one of our friends that we brought along. He's like, "There's a lot of black shirts here," so having the red Babyface definitely stood out for sure. But it is what it is. We're all team Dynamite download. It's all the same.
That's right.
Uplift each other. Thank you guys for joining us tonight on Rampage Rundown. We will see you back again on Wednesday. Talk with you all week. Hopefully this is a nice transition into the weekend. Thank you always. We love you all for joining us. Everyone stay safe. And, tomorrow's 9/11. So, always remember that.
Yeah,
not to leave on a downer, but we
got to
remember
all the stuff that's been happening in our country. Yes. I think it's important to remember tomorrow's a big day in our country's history. And if you
will be close to where it happened. I'm working down right by World Trade tomorrow, so I'll be right there. So I'll post a picture of SPD right there on ground zero. So it's going to be very weird to be right there, but we have to remember, and I'll always remember where it was. So hopefully you all as well, and we'll respect the loss and grow together as a country and as a human race. Right?
Well said, brother.
Well, on that note, everyone, it's going to be a great weekend for you all. Stay safe. You know where to find us. And we always love chatting